Okay, so 2012, Drop Dead Diva wraps up. Now, did you do another pilot season, or you got offered a role, or how did Mad Men come into your life?
That was just lucky. That was I left Diva.
It can't all be luck. It can't at this point all be luck. A lot of it's talent.
I don't know. A lot of it I still think is luck.
Really? There's talent and skill.
I think when I don't get something, I blame it on a lack of talent. When I do get something, I assume it's luck. Yeah.
Right. So at no point are you ever acknowledging. Right.
I think really what I need is a therapist.
Oh, okay. This is therapy, sort of.
But yeah, it is.
Well, Mad Men, you play a character Michael Ginsberg.
Yeah.
And I like him because. Well, of course, he's Jewish, but he's not like the modern day Jewish. He's like the Woody Allen Jewish. He's he reminds me of Jonathan Silverman in the Neil Simon plays, like Brighton Beach Memoirs.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's that throwback, which I really like, and that's I think why you also got nominated for the Emmy is you stand out in this world that's very not dry, but like everyone's the same.
There was a certain temperature, and I think
you change.
Added,
you change the vibe. You come into this like very serious advertising office, and even Elizabeth Moss is like intrigued by you because you're animated and fun, and I think she has a crush on you.
Do you?
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people had that sort of, or would ask me where was our relationship.
Well, it would be nice for her to meet a nice guy, but
she left the agency.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can't. That's actually more of a reason why you should.
I may never see her again.
You'll see her again. Well, so let's talk about Michael Ginsberg. So when you see this, is it on a character breakdown? Like, how does that work?
So
it's another audition.
So I had just left Diva, and I was kind of worried. It was sort of my decision. I could have, in a way, gone back, and I was asked to, and I was like, no, I'm going to try this out.
Really?
And this audition came just a couple months after I'd gotten back and said goddbye to the character.
Was it the role? Was it being in Atlanta? What were you looking for?
There was just a couple. Yeah, there was. I just felt like I was lucky enough to have a 2-year contract, which you don't normally get as a regular on a show.
Right.
And it was a gift, and I might as well take advantage of it and gamble and see if I can go off and do something else. I don't like consistency. Which is, I think, probably one of the reasons why I became an actor.
Right, I was going to say, well, then you picked the right business.
Yeah, exactly. So this was just an audition. It was like any other audition, and it was...
but you see that breakdown, and you're like, I got this.
No, not at all,
no?
because the breakdown didn't... Well, the breakdown basically just said...
Was his name Michael Ginsberg?
Yeah, that's pretty much all that was still... that was what it is now. I mean, it said, charming New York energy.
Didn't say Jewish?
No.
Because John Slattery...
I might have said Jewish.
Because John Slattery in the pilot says, like, I already told everyone we hired a Jew. Like, it was a story point.
Yeah, no, it might have said Jewish. They were definitely, when I saw the other guys auditioning, they were definitely looking for a type, a Jewish type.
Right.
But it really didn't say much else. It certainly didn't ask for an accent or anything like that. And it was, and the main
so you brought that to the table?
That was just a gamble
that was you?
I took.
Wow.
Yeah.
It paid off.
But,
you're so lucky.
Okay. I am lucky. It was all luck.
Luck.
It was originally just for... this one episode with the potential to heavy recur, and that was it.
Got it.
And so I did that. What was scary was on the breakdown it said that I was auditioning for Matt Weiner and John Hamm, because that was John's directorial debut.
Wow.
So both of them were in the room when I auditioned, which is which can.
So
be
was he
a little
playing
much.
himself and directing you, or he was just in there as director?
Once we shot it, yeah. But as in the audition, room, in the audition room, he was just there as the director. I didn't even know. They gave me scenes that I actually inevitably did, but they change, and they do this for everybody. They change names around, they change situations and companies and all this kind of stuff on the side, so that when you go in an audition, you don't really know. Like, Peggy was a guy in my audition.
Interesting.
And,
really? Because that changes the whole scene.
Doesn't.
Because you're, like, flirting.
Right, but they're looking for,
just...
an actor and a type and all that kind of stuff. They're not looking
And is that because they're secretive? Because Mad Men is notoriously secretive.
Yeah, and they don't want some actor to come in and read it and know what's happening and then they sign any disclosures.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you didn't get the real script till when?
So when you're a guest star, which was me last year, you don't get the script in advance. You get your scenes are sent to you the night before the table read.
Oh my
and that's
gosh.
it. So you don't even really know in context what's happening.
Right.
And so I would just show up to table reads like an hour early and sit there and read the whole script.
Smart.
Because I didn't want to be, I was the nerdy actor that wanted to make sure that I did my work.
But you were also the new kid on the block.
And I was the new kid and I didn't want to mess up a great gig.
So everybody, the whole cast comes in for a table read?
No. The whole cast comes in
every
for a table
episode?
read. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Even, these days now, when we're not in an episode, we still, usually, unless we're out of town, we'll show up for a table
that's
read.
Really interesting.
Yeah, and it's fun. Table reads for Mad Men they're hilarious. The show's a lot funnier is one of the things I've learned from those table reads than you think it is. Because when you see it on air, it's kind of serious and
no, but it's got a dry humor.
It's got a dry humor that is not dry. It feels like you're at you're doing a sitcom.
Yeah, but also the first time you hear like a character inhabit the voice, there's something fun about that.
Yeah, and
there's
just a lot of funny lines.
Yeah,
these shows are very funny.
Yeah.
Matt Weiner started as a sitcom writer.
He did, and now he has 4 Best Drama Emmys.
Yeah, he's a funny guy.
Yeah. So you get the part as Michael Ginsberg. You go to the table read, you shoot it, and John Hamm is your director and your co-star.
Yeah,
he must be a great director because he understands actors.
He was great. He was a wonderful director, and he's a really, really smart guy.
Yeah, he seems like a cool guy.
And also, Matt was there a whole lot because it was like a new character, and he wanted to make sure that I didn't screw it up. And rightfully so.
At this point, did you know you were going to be more than one episode?
No one told me. I had a suspicion because when we shot it, the episode ended on me and my dad in our apartment together. Right. So I was like, this has got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
But no one tells you anything. So I remember my last day of shooting, I hugged Erin Levy, who wrote the episode. I hugged her and I said, it was a pleasure working with you. And I remember her looking at me like, what is he? I'm going to see him like tomorrow
next
at
week.
The table read. Yeah.
So is that still considered guest star? How many did you do? 9?
I think I did about 9 or something
episodes.
Like that. And it was guest. The whole thing was guest.
Really?
Yeah.
Because at that point it's recurring or...
Unless your contract says you're a regular, a recurring is still a guest.
So are you allowed to talk about if you're on next season or you're not allowed to?
I can't tell you anything about next season. It's the worst, yeah. We went through, that's the worst when you go through like, all the SAG and Emmys and all these different award shows. And
so you can't even say if you're in the next season?
Can't tell. Well, no, I can say that I'm in the next
season. No, you're in it. That's all I'm wondering.
But that's only a recent
I knew
development.
That anyway.
That was a recent development that I could say that.
Okay.
Or at least I didn't learn that I could say it yet.
Are you still guest star? What change? Does anything change?
You know what? I'm on it. I'm on the show.
Wow.
I'm sure I can say that because the publicist told me that I was allowed to say that recently.
So I don't want to get you in trouble.
Hopefully I will not be in trouble. But she told me I could say that.
Are you a regular on Mad Men?
I am regularly on it.
Wow.
But I can't. I don't even want to.
I'm gonna wait till it premieres in April and check the opening credits and hopefully see Ben Feldman.
That's a good way.
Okay.
Yeah, you can check that.
I can wait 2 months.
Yeah, if I'm at the beginning.
Do you know when the new season starts?
April 7th, I think, is when they announced.
So that's sort of their thing. Is April and it runs for about 12 weeks, right?
Yeah. So it's a 13-episode show.
13.
But exactly.
Sometimes they do a 2-hour premiere.
Sometimes they'll do that, but yeah.
So 13 episodes. So how does it feel to be part of Mad Men? It must feel really good.
Yeah, it's cool. It's surreal. It was one of my favorite shows ever. So,
you were a fan?
Oh, from Michelle and I watched it in real time. The first episode, I was like the person calling my friends and my family and telling them to watch the show. Yeah.
And AMC was new at that whole thing.
It was all new. I just knew. I always liked period pieces. I liked that era. And I liked, and both my parents were advertisers, so I was like, "This has got to be a show that we watch." And I knew the guy who created it came from The Sopranos,
right?
And so I was like, "This is gonna be good."
Yeah, my parents liked it from the beginning. I admittedly started watching it for Ben Feldman.
Yeah. You've only watched one season
5, but I caught up.
So many things that you don't know.
I'll go back. I can go back.
You've got to go.
And they also jumped. Didn't they jump like a decade?
Each year they jump, not a decade.
From the 50s to the 60s or 60s to the.
It's always been in the 60s.
Oh, okay. I thought there was a season where they made a big jump.
There have been bigger and smaller jumps, but it's always stayed within this sort of era.
Yeah, right.
But it's, when you watch this season, like, you can understand what's going on, but there are little moments. Someone will say something. It really pays to have watched the other seasons because they're constantly referencing things that happened 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, that makes sense. But, I mean, for me, you were the new character, so I was able to just join it with Michael Ginsberg, right? Exactly. That's all I care about. I fast forward everyone. No, that's not true. Actually, I don't. So the Emmys come, right?
Yeah.
And the season airs. Did you feel any sort of acclaim, or did a lot of people reach out? Like, I loved season 5 of Mad Men. Like, did you get a lot of attention for season 5 pre-Emmy? So because there's a little space between the season 5 airing and the Emmy nominations,
yeah,
just in your normal life,
press and stuff like that, and people, everybody has a million. That's what's cool about the show is everybody has a million different opinions.
Yeah, well, you're not on Twitter, so you don't see.
The best season ever. This is the worst season ever.
Right.
It's all over the place. It's so perfectly succinct and wonderful.
Yeah,
like everybody's.
But even in your own life, like when you're going on audition, did it raise your profile a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny. It doesn't in public. It doesn't change. Like you do a show on Lifetime, like I did Diva.
Yeah.
People come up to you in like Birmingham and will grab you and be like, "Come here, take a picture. My cousin loves you."
Right.
And they'll come up to you and talk to you at dinner and stuff like that. No one ever wants to admit. But Mad Men audiences don't really come up to you, so your life doesn't change. They're very polite and they're very adult.
So you probably get recognized more, but approached less.
They don't say anything. Yeah, exactly. They're not the type of person to come up to you, and if they do, it's sort of like excuse me, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to tell you I love your work. They talk to you
that
like
never gets old, right?
You're like a grandfather or something. Who's been, like you're Ian McKellen or something.
Well, they think you're really from the 60s.
Well, yeah, and they
Michael
think you're
Ginsberg.
like you're. It's this. There's some sort of gravitas that comes with being on the show that I don't deserve, but they.
You do that.
Well,
you're in good company. Well, I was going to say, so Mad Men got 17 Emmy nominations this past year. 6 of those were for actors on the show, which is pretty rare, I think.
Every category.
Yeah, so John Hamm, Elizabeth Moss, Christina Hendricks, Jared Harris, Julia Ormond, Ben Feldman.
Yeah.
And there's an episode called The Other Woman, which is this real critically acclaimed episode. That was nominated for directing and writing.
Yeah.
Faraway Places was nominated for writing. You were in both of those.
Yes.
What do you think? What do you think makes like an episode like The Other Woman different than the other ones? Or get nominated for directing, because all of the episodes are directed well.
I think it's. I think people notice the ones where it's not just the usual sort of routine. It's not just Office and a little bit at home. Like for instance, the probably arguably the greatest, or one of, but in my opinion, the greatest episode ever was The Suitcase, which was season 4.
Right. I actually have heard about it.
It's incredible. It's one of the best hours of television I think that have been made.
That's what I've heard.
Far before I was on the show, but it was the whole thing is almost essentially just John and Lizzie, or Don and Peggy in the office, like crying together in the middle of the night, and it's this very individual piece that kind of stands on its own and inhabits a different world and a different tone than all the other things. And I think that's the kind of stuff that people notice.
Stands out. Well, I think that happened.
They know those episodes, and they bring in the great. They're like their A-team come in and do those episodes.
They're Emmy caliber people, right? That happened. I feel like this year with Girls. Girls did an episode last week.
Girls is doing a lot of those.
Yeah, but they did the Patrick Wilson, Lena Dunham, just the two of them at his house.
Yeah.
And I think it gave it back some sort of heat,
Yeah, well, this whole season, I think, of Girls is starting to feel like they're really taking risks.
They're trying
to. The one that was just on the other night was very different,
too.
I mean, they're...
The first, 3 I didn't love this season, but then it found its groove again.
They're getting really creative. They're being bold, which is kind of cool.
Well, they can. Yeah. HBO lets you do that. I'm sure AMC
lets them do whatever they want.
I've heard that they don't meddle at all, and it comes out great.
AMC's wonderful.
Last thing about Mad Men, what was your favorite episode or favorite moment of season 5? Either that you were on or... No.
Well, episode for me, I don't remember the name of it. The one where they do all the LSD was probably my favorite.
Yeah.
I don't think I was in that episode, but it was a great episode.
Right. But for you, the ones,
shooting, God. You know what? There was a really cool moment. One of the cooler moments was they had a Beatles song. It was the episode where they were playing. There was a Beatles montage.
Yeah.
Which is almost unheard of, especially on television, because it costs $1 jillion.
I was going to say, no one can get the rights to the Beatles. Even iTunes couldn't get the Beatles at one point.
The Beatles love Mad Men. And so they worked out something.
No
and they
way.
also, I'm pretty sure they still spent an arm and a leg on this song, but it could have been worse.
Well, it's the 60s. I mean, it's a major
And it was
coup.
a really cool... it was Tomorrow... It was named after... It was the Tomorrow Never Dies, or Tomorrow... I forget what it's called.
Yeah.
It's this great Beatles song when they were kind of more psychedelic, crazy.
Right.
So there's a montage towards the end, and my part is I'm at the desk with Peggy and with Stan, and maybe one other person, but I think it was just us 3, smoking a joint. And we're passing the joint around, and the camera kind of pans around the table and catches us smoking, and then sort of slowly pans off to the next part of the montage. And I was like, this will maybe be the only time in my life where I'm acting to a Beatles song, and we played it while we shot it.
That's
we were
cool.
blasting the music, and it was like I called my dad, when it was going to air, and I was like, "You got to watch tonight because it's awesome. You're gonna it's like a Beatles song or whatever." And then I got cut out of the montage.
No.
Yeah,
really man. Fun.
But it was, I mean, I wasn't necessary.
Right.
I wasn't necessary as far as the storytelling. They probably needed to cut it down.
But that's interesting because usually they don't worry about the music till post when they're editing. So they secured it first.
Well, it was part of the story of that particular episode.
Yeah, so they secured the music, played it on set, which is rare, and then got it.
Oh, it was great. And we're smoking a joint on set. So it was just all of these things. It was just a really, really cool.
That's awesome. And what can people expect from season 6? Anything you could tell, but
I wish I can't say anything. Single thing.
I'm just happy Michael Ginsberg's back. That's all I needed to know today.
You'll see Michael Ginsberg in some capacity.
Yeah.
But
so
yeah,
cool.
no, we gotta, we can't say it.
But it's nice probably also to take it back to the beginning of, pilot season, and you came out here for a pilot to just have a steady job on a hit show.
I've been lucky with pilot seasons. I usually either I get to do a pilot or I'm on a show. And it's just, I've been very fortunate.
Yeah. And so you've started shooting season, obviously, because it's starting in April.
Yeah, Mad Men
it's almost over. It's almost over, right?
It's certainly over halfway done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We're seeing actually tonight. We're going downtown to watch the premiere.
Oh, awesome!
They're showing the cast the premiere.
Just the cast.
Not even allowed to bring Michelle.
Wow. Yeah. So how does that work? So Michelle's a fan of the show.
Yeah.
She must ask you questions all the time.
No, she's pretty good.
Well, now
she doesn't want it to be spoiled. And yeah, she doesn't. She was, especially last year when I was still new. I mean, I told her nothing because I was terrified that
Were you allowed to say that you were going to Mad Men, or did you I'm going to go to the store to get some milk and come back 16 hours later?
Because that would have been really good for our relationship.
Exactly. Honey, I swear
it's work. I just can't talk about it.
Right. Don't ask me about my business.
She's like, "Why are you wearing makeup? Don't forget about it.
Why are you wearing your father's leisure suit?
Is that
who
plaid?
Is she? Yeah. That's
no,
funny.
we don't really talk that much about it, and she's happy to not talk about it because then she's the only
gets
one left in our house that now gets to watch it the way we used to.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
But I bet you see the other scenes and you don't know, or no, the table read.
The table reads, that's right. I read the scripts and everything like that. But it's still great to watch it.
I think that's really awesome to be a fan of a show and get to join it, and that's probably what helped you in the audition too. You knew the tone of the show.
I knew a certain tone, yeah. But at the same time, I was trying to go for it was this different kind of a tone. So it was crazy.
That's awesome. Well, I hope you get nominated again. Do what you can, please.
Yeah, well, not necessary. It's everything that's could have come from this show. That's great.
That was the icing.
Come, and I've been very, very lucky.
Yeah, the Emmy was the icing on the cake
here.
Yeah. Ben Feldman.
Ben is lucky.
Lucky guy.
Luckiest guy on earth.